Hey folks, Lucero here. We got a kind of, I wouldn't say urgent, but I'm recording this like in the moment, at the spur of the moment, because we have a slew of changes to MAK items that are just released. Lots of nerfs that we predicted. We didn't weigh in on how we thought they would be changed, but a lot of items that I called out that needed nerfed have been hit. There are actually a substantial amount of buffs in here too, so clearly they want to see different playstyles and builds emerging out of MAK. And we're going to run through these real quick. I'm probably going to have to add, I can't get OBS to show a live version of the web page. So I'll have to edit in some screens here later to show these, but let's run through these changes here. Apothecary has been buffed. Its regen used to be 3, 6, and 9. This is a large item. It takes up 3 slots. Every time I've been offered this, I'm like, that's some really measly regen for how large the item is. They've raised that to 5, 10, and 15, so maybe Apothecary will actually see some use now. Athanor has been hit big time. This is probably they did not hit the Potion Distillery. They hit Athanor and Poppy Field, so, the meta's going to change for sure, and MAK is not going to be as strong. Athanor now starts at silver instead of bronze. The reload no longer scales from 1, 2, 3, and 4. It now just hits adjacent potions flat, period. They increased the burn to account for this major change. The burn has doubled across the board. So it's 8, 12, and 16 now. That's a pretty big change. So it should still be a useful item, but nowhere near as strong. And the shiny enchantment, it now just affects multicast on adjacent potions. Major, major change there. Athanor no more. Dragon's Breath was buffed. Its cooldown just reduced by 2 seconds. This is an item that was in a positive and a good winning MAK build. The potion never even had the time to go off. Your small potions just did the work before Dragon Breath ever got used. So hopefully this change makes it a little more viable. Floor Spike had its cooldown reduced by 1 second from 10 to 9, and its charge was also reduced to 1 second. So while it'll get used a little faster, the charge has been reduced. Goop Flail is an item I've never used. It's a large item. It used to have a +3 multicast on shiny. That's been reduced to 1. Leeches also received a buff, minor buff. Its cooldown was reduced by 1 second from 9 to 8. It was definitely too slow initially. This is an item that I've used in the early game, but it's not a late game item. I don't think, unless you can manage to scale some kind of weapon build, you don't really want leeches around. Maybe now that'll be a little different. Library was hit in a pretty big change. It used to work, its enchantments used to be that when you fell below half health, you had like a pretty big slow or freeze on multiple items. That's been changed to whenever a non-weapon item is used, you get a much shorter duration on those items, or the heal and the poison have changed on just across the board. Its enchantments were reworked to work when you use a non-weapon item. Seems like maybe that's actually a buff. I haven't really used the library, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Instead of being like a save, it's now kind of a more active use. Magic Carpet has had its cooldown reduced. That's going to be impactful because we've already seen builds where Magic Carpet's cooldown is reduced to like almost instant cast. And that's going to be even easier because its cooldown is now 1 second slower. The Philosopher's Stone picked up the Relic tag, and that's interesting because there are certain items that impact relics specifically. The Laboratory is one of them. Plague Glaive had its enchantments on Heavy, Icy, and Turbo reduced by 2 seconds for all 3 of those, so that's a pretty big nerf there. Poppy Field is the other really big, impactful one, I think. This has been in almost everyone's MAK build. If you've got a Poppy Field weapon build, you were getting crushed. Say that 3 times fast. Poppy Field weapon build. Slow, Freeze, Haste have all been reduced from 3 to 1 second. Restorative and Fiery change, though. You now are going to heal or burn equal to this item's poison and heal equal to 10 times this item's poison. Those are maybe a little side grades on those enchantments. Recycling Bin has also been nerfed. Heavy, Icy, and Turbo have been halved on all 3 of those. Shield, Restorative, Toxic, Fiery, and Obsidian have all been reworked. Shield, heal, and damage are now 10 times the item's regen, and poison and burn are equal to the item's regen. So those may end up being buffs, actually. Runic Daggers and Runic Double Bow have both had their cooldowns reduced by 1 second. Satchel has been reworked to probably, well, it'll be interesting to see. Um, Now when you level it, your cooldown is reduced from 8, 7 to 6 seconds finally, but it has a stagnant regen. The regen no longer increases, so this is going to be a hit to regen builds. When you buy a potion, increase the regen. That has been doubled from 1, 2, and 3 to 2, 4, and 6. Now this is a really interesting one. Secret Formula has been buffed. Its cooldown has gone from 10 to 8 seconds, and that's a change from 12 to 10, when you level it. Now, Secret Formula is already busted, so it getting even faster, that's going to be really, really interesting. Smelling Salts. What do we have here? Big hit to the freeze from 2 seconds to 0.5 seconds. So now it's equivalent to the Blue Beetle from Dooley. Let's see, the Poison and Burn were both reduced from 3 to 1. Spider Mace. Let's see, cooldown increased 2 seconds. The damage has been halved by 5 at bronze, silver, and gold, and 10 at diamond. Slow has been halved, the freeze has been halved, and the haste has been halved for those enchantments. And this, we can probably thank Crip for this one for his instant cast Spider Mace build that he had the other day on his channel. Staff of the Moose has been buffed. I would call it a buff. It's some of it is like just an alteration in the way it works, but I just tried to make this item work last night with some success. I think if I wanted to play with it, so I put it in my build, even though it didn't really fit or make the most sense. And I suspect if I'd left it out, I might have got a little further. I got 7 or 8 wins, I can't recall. But it now has a flat 200 damage across all levels. Its cooldown is reduced 3 seconds. That is a huge deal. It was impossible to get the thing to cast when I was using it. And its half health usage has changed. You take no damage for now as you level up 1 to 1.5 to 2 seconds as opposed to a stagnant 1 second. And the regen also increases from 25 to 50 to 75. That's a pretty huge buff. That used to be a stagnant 25. Your weapons have plus damage equal to your regen. That no longer scales, so that might be a nerf out there actually. Obsidian picks up the Tome of Yyahan picks up an obsidian enchant. It used to have none. However, I can't see ever putting that into your build. I just keep it in the bag to raise my regen. Viper Cane is getting buffed across the board. Its regen and its plus to regen are both increased from 10 to 15 and 20 to 25. And same treatment for its poison gain. Then we have a skill change to one of the monster skills. Flamedancer used to be 2, 4, 6, and 8 crit chance. That's being changed to 5, 10, 15, and 20. So that's a pretty huge change for any burn builds. So those are the buffs and nerfs. There you have it. Every single one of those was a MAK item with the exception of the Flamedancer skill. And I think the meta is going to be pretty interesting today. I'm about to hop on and start playing and see how things are different. They didn't wipe ghosts, so that's another thing that'll be neat. You're going to be running into some of these builds that maybe used to wipe you off the board, or like the Poppy Field. Yeah, the Poppy Field boards used to melt you with the weapon damage increase. Athanor builds used to freeze you out. You'd be locked out. Your board wouldn't do anything, and that's going to change. So it'll be interesting since they didn't wipe ghosts, like running into some of those and seeing how they fare now. It'll give you an idea of how you might want to build your board differently in the future. So it's going to be a fun day to play, and get out there and enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Till next time.